explosive performance.
Hey guys, welcome to Braddels Gaming and to another episode of the Far Cry 5 Community Creation series. In this series I feature other people's maps from the Far Cry 5 arcade, and today we're going to be checking out a Red Dead Redemption inspired map created by Snake5112 on the PlayStation called exactly that, Red Dead Redemption. For the sake of the commentary, I'm just going to shorten it down to the common acronym of RDR, but the great thing about this map straight off the bat is that it's been ported over on all three platforms. So in terms of accessibility, whether you use PlayStation, Xbox or PC, note that this map is available for you to play. However, instead of it being under Snake5112 like it is on PlayStation, it is under the Mapswapper gamertag on Xbox and PC, and full details are in the video description below just to make it super clear. RDR is a team deathmatch map based on Ridgewood Farm. Now unfortunately I myself have never visited Ridgewood Farm over on RDR before, so I won't be the best judge of how true this recreation on Far Cry is, but what I can do is appreciate a good Far Cry map nonetheless, and RDR by Snake5112 is exactly that. Without knowing much about Ridgewood Farm, I think Snake5112 has carefully chosen what is a very solid location for a team deathmatch map. I love the layout of this map with the ranch in the center of this canyon-like sweeping landscape, and as you'll see from the gameplay today, it creates a lot of fun engagements with the enemy team, both in terms of long-ranged gunplay and shorter, more frantic style gun engagements, including some Hitman style takedowns when you're able to complete a satisfying flank and subsequent ambush on a number of unsuspecting enemy players. Now with any map recreation, it can always be difficult to pull off scaling the map in a way that is faithful to the original, whilst also styling the map to its original form, and like I said at the start, I won't be the best judge of either criteria as I've never visited Ridgewood Farm in its inaugural stage, but funnily enough I think Snake5112 has done a really solid recreation nonetheless. Seeing pictures of what Ridgewood looks like, the ranch and the surrounding environment really does feel like it's been pulled out of Red Dead and thrown straight into the Far Cry 5 arcade. All of the original elements are there, such as the main residence, the barn, the grazing enclosures, the dirt roads, and the ensuing canyon terrain, which in itself provides great overwatch opportunities and verticality. As I'm sure you can all appreciate, working with terrain can a lot of the time seem pretty daunting to work with. Take my own custom map Forest Friction for example. In that speedbuild commentary I mentioned how when I first started building on the Far Cry 5 map editor, I really just tried to avoid building maps with terrain altogether. I was pretty terrible at it and just didn't have any desire to get over this fear of inadequacy in working with the terrain tools. But I eventually forced myself to work with it, and personally, at least I think Forest Friction really shows a lot of growth in my terrain skills, especially since the start of 2018. To cut a very long story short, Snake5112 is obviously quite experienced with their terrain skills, as the map does really pay homage to the original, even down to the fine details of the surrounding terrain around Ridgewood Farm and in it as well. And to reinforce my point, don't be scared to work with the terrain tools, as it can produce stunning results for your own custom map creations, just like it has for Snake5112 on RDR, and, shameless self-promotion, for my map Forest Friction. Here we have some National Geographic sequences. In fact, we've already had a few from our furry friends throughout the start of this video, and as you'll notice, some of the more dangerous wildlife is thankfully not attacking me, although to be honest with you, the cougar and the bull are indeed paid actors. So before you start thinking I'm the world's best Wild West animal tamer, think again. Now, like Harvest DM, the last map we looked at in this Far Cry 5 community creation series, pretty much all the structures on RDR are also made largely out of generic shapes. They don't appear to be destructible like the ones SPS put together on Harvest, but nonetheless they too are impressive. In fact, I think it works better that the ones on this map aren't destructible, as they're all part of this long-lasting set piece to pay homage to something, so it's probably best if someone doesn't blow them up. And as I talked about on Harvest, it really suited Harvest to have all of its structures be destructible, which I feel is the opposite to the map we're looking at today. Similarly to Harvest, what strikes me about the structures in this map, like all great generic shapes maps, is that the custom made structures really do look and feel like actual pre-made assets in the Far Cry 5 map editor. But in a twist, they have been made purely from scratch by people like you and I, which just makes it all the more cool. That someone was able to think of and actually physically put together, piece by piece, something so intricate in its form is just insane. The detail, particularly in the main residence and the carriage beside it, were my favourite custom-made assets on this map. On this note, I also love the custom-made cacti or cactus. I never would have thought to make cactus or really anything natural from generic shapes, but it's something I've seen some very experienced creators be able to pull off, and Snake 5112 is no exception to this. Up close they might not seem like the most realistic looking cacti, but if there's anything I've learnt from the Far Cry 5 map editor, it's that sometimes as a map creator you need to make sacrifices and compromises. And I think this custom made cacti is a very good compromise from Snake 5112, as you can still genuinely tell what it is. So quite a clever invention all in all. In terms of how this map plays, I think there's a great balance of different playstyles catered for, and the gun choices themselves, whilst are all modern weapons, again, compromise. Considering Far Cry 5 really only has an arsenal of modern weaponry, has been done up really well in that they all feel western enough and each one has different strengths which can really complement you at different stages of the game. For example, the class I used had the classic 1887, the 4570 and the MS-16. The 1887 is a great shotgun with great damage at short to medium range. The 4570 is a high damage rifle with the ability to one-shot anyone at any range, but has a low rate of fire and only 4 bullets a cartridge, whilst the MS-16 is one of the best all-round guns in Far Cry, with its quick-firing semi-automatic and high magazine making it a force to be reckoned with or a sneaky threat. The spawn locations are also really nice and spread out, so there's a really slim chance of getting spawn killed, but they're not so far out that you have to run a long way to get back into the action. Now, I go on about this like a broken down record player, so some of you are probably getting very sick of this, but I really do think, and this is something again I say in pretty much every video, that great maps and great creators acknowledge that to make their map extra special and going the extra mile, they make the map's playable area genuinely look and feel like it's part of a larger world and goes beyond what the player is able to access. And once again, Snake 5112 is no exception to this rule. In multiplayer, you probably don't think too much about standing on the edge of the map and looking out over the horizon to outside of the map's playable area, but having done it on this map before myself, I was genuinely impressed by how the terrain is still very natural outside the playable area, and how it seems to just go on and on for miles, as if I was actually in a Wild West open world. So props to Snake 5112 for really considering this and implementing it with excellence. Finally, as you would have seen from some of the cinematics and just the general gameplay unfolding before your eyes, there appears to be a bunch of Easter eggs scattered around the map. But as I said, I've never really played RDR before, so for those of you that have, you'll have to fill in my gaping holes of knowledge in the comment section below as to what some of them mean.
Explosive performance.
But as always, this is the wrap up from me for another awesome map from the Far Cry 5 arcade. A map on all 3 platforms and a super fun one at that. Definitely check this one out. This is Red Dead Redemption, a team deathmatch map based on Ridgewood Farm from RDR, created by Snake5112. Another well-rounded map with great use of verticality via the terrain tools, intricately designed custom-made structures, and well-balanced gun classes and spawn locations. If you enjoyed this map and video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for future channel notifications if you're new around here. But otherwise, thank you to everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Far Cry 5 Community Creation Series, and stay tuned for more community creations, and that new speed build I briefly talked about in the last episode of the Far Cry 5 Community Creation Series. You know, that one where I also build a map with some very cool custom-made structures. But, without any further ado, I'm Braddels Gaming, I'm signing out now, and remember to have yourselves a great day.
Wrong way. Explosive performance. Turn around. Victory is imminent. Victory is imminent. Victory is imminent.